When Francis Ramos Senior visited downtown Belize City this morning, he did not imagine that he would encounter a distressing incident on Swing Bridge. His eldest son, 48-year-old Francis Ramos Junior, lay dead on the pedestrian crossing. He was mortally wounded during an officer-involved shooting moments earlier.
My son, I love him very much no matter what the problem was, and I'm really saddened by the of what happened, and I really got to see into it and get more information so I could tell you guys what's going on.
Mr. Ramos, I understand that you are visiting Belize and you are scheduled to leave the country tomorrow. Share with us, notwithstanding what has happened this morning, your immediate reaction, considering the fact that you wouldn't have wanted to see your son in that state before leaving the country.
I sure won't. No matter what the situation is, that's my son. I always wanted best for him.
It is believed that Ramos's namesake suffered from mental illness. Sometime around 10 a.m., he was in the vicinity of Albert and Queen Streets, wielding a large knife menacingly towards passers-by when police were called to that location.
As you would have seen this morning, there was a very unfortunate incident that took place on the Swing Bridge whereby a gentleman, Mr. Ramos, lost his life. And so we want to extend our condolences. I'm sure he has a family, and we want to extend our condolences to his family. Very difficult circumstances, no doubt. I think you can assess from all the footage that has been provided so far that there was a standoff with several police officers. Mr. Ramos was in fact armed with a large knife, and there were several attempts that were made to kind of calm down Mr. Ramos, and I think one of the officers even fired 3 warning shots at the feet of Mr. Ramos.
Those rounds, however, did not deter Ramos, who advanced towards the officers, still brandishing the edged weapon.
After those warning shots, Mr. Ramos then advanced to the officers. I think it was 3 of them, 1 in civilian clothing, and thereafter, like I said, advancing in a very threatening, menacing manner. And unfortunately, the police officers had to do what they had to do in the circumstances, not just to protect themselves, but the public at large. This is downtown Belize City. It could have gone. A lot of people could have been injured. And so in the circumstances, I think the police did all that they could have done. They tried their best not to make that happen.
Since relocating to the United States 35 years ago, Francis Ramos Sr. hadn't been home. During that time, his son, who was also living abroad, had been deported to Belize and living as a vagrant.
I saw him when I first came here. We communicated for a little bit, and then I leave. Then coming back this morning, I was about to meet with him, and this is the news that I got.
I'm still trying to myself process what has happened here in the context of you as a parent witnessing your son lying dead on the bridge at the hands of police officers. We've seen a video or several videos that showed us what took place. How do you come to terms with this, knowing that you're leaving the country, or do you extend your stay to deal with what has happened here?
I will extend my stay and find out exactly what's going on and deal with it the best way I know possible.
Despite amateur footage of the incident being circulated, the question tonight is whether the responding officers could have treated with the situation differently without having to resort to lethal force.
None of those officers woke up this morning and said, you know what, I want to go and shoot somebody on the Swing Bridge today. That's not what they want to do. But in the circumstances to protect their own lives and the lives of others, they were forced to do that.
Critics would argue nonetheless that because it would seem that this was a mental patient or someone struggling with some kind of mental issue, that the matter could have been dealt with differently.
You know, I think it certainly brings into sharp focus a very deep issue that we have with mental patients, especially in Belize City. There is a need. I think we all recognize that there is a need for a facility where we can have these individuals go and to receive the necessary treatment and attention.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.